talk starts. So take a seat, have a chat, table talk, where the real talk's at.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Greetings, infidel. Silence!
I kill you till you're dead. Wait
That's
a minute.
pretty thorough.
I thought he was dead already.
Well,
you can
he
see
is.
you can see his skeleton.
Yes. But when it happened, he was over there, and up there.
And over there. He was everywhere. All right, so good evening, everybody. We are glad you are here tonight. We were so excited. I couldn't wait to be here tonight. We got all kinds of new toys, and we hope it works out really well tonight. God has blessed us in so many ways. I say us and the ministry for sure. We're just ecstatic.
So what is that they say there in God's Not Dead? God is good.
God is good. God is great. God is awesome. God is everywhere.
Well, it's the banter between the two pastors. One of them will say God is good, and the other one comes back all the time.
Oh yeah,
and all the time, God is good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I need to watch that movie. That's a good movie. That's a good tearjerker.
Yeah, there's I think 5 or 6 of them now.
Yeah, they went on with that one pretty good.
They did.
They did. It's a good message.
It really is.
There's another movie called The Message also.
Yes.
And then all kinds of them.
I'm going to say one of my more, now I do like the God's Not Dead movies. There are some faith and family movies kind of under that same label that they have a good story, but they're lower budget. Like they're not very entertaining as far as a movie goes.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to remember the name of the one. They did it, because God's Not Dead kind of has a central plot and like 2 or 3 subplots.
Mm-hmm.
Do You Believe? That's the name of the movie.
Yes.
Where they went full Hollywood, and it was like 9 to 12 people, all their stories enter.
I like Courageous and Fireproof, Prayer Room.
The Kendrick movies.
Yes, Kendrick he's got good visions.
He really does. Have you seen Flywheel?
Yes, that was a good old one.
Yes, I think that was their first one.
Yeah, Flywheel was a good old one. Yes.
I think and they have gotten better at acting since then.
Yeah, I think that's one of the first ones I saw of his. I think Courageous might have been next. I don't remember. There's all kinds of good ones.
Oh yeah. Is it Courageous when he's got his helper Javier riding in the back of the cop car? And he's supposed to be pretending to be the Snake King or something like that.
Yeah, that's freaking hilarious.
When when that part came around, I laughed entirely too hard.
That was freaking great. The Snake King.
Then the confusing part where he thinks he's hired the wrong Javier.
Yes.
And like I said, the acting in that part wasn't that good, but the whole story about it is like, I was supposed to hire a guy named Javier. You did. Well, it was supposed to be this guy. He's like, I am. And like neither one of them, like that God works in mysterious ways.
Yes, he does.
We'll just say it like that.
He does.
Watch the movie.
Yes, watch the movie. God works in mysterious ways. I mean, people may not see, and it's taken me. I've been in a what they call a season, I guess you'd say, where it hadn't. I've been in my head too much.
Right.
I've been making life about money.
Can't do that.
No. And it kind of ties into our lesson, our message. We're going through Ephesians. And it kind of made me an angry person grumpy, and some things happened at work. I got a raise, and what's crazy is yesterday was payday,
Right.
and all day yesterday at work, God said, "See, I got you."
Mm-hmm.
And at lunchtime yesterday, I'm going to take this out of my ear. At lunchtime yesterday, God said, "See, I got you." And I called my wife and I said, "I'm sorry that I was being this person that I don't need to be." And it got me being a person that I shouldn't be.
Right. Right.
And it just, money makes us evil.
Well, there's a like people will tell you that money is the root of all evil.
It is.
And well, that's the misinterpretation.
In a way, it depends how it goes.
The love of money is the full quote.
Yes.
Money in and of itself, it's paper, it does have value attached to it, but money in and of itself is an inert object. It doesn't ruin you unless you allow it to.
Yeah.
Um, it's one of them things where it's easy to say that money isn't important if you have too much or none at all. It's easy to say things like that. But let either one of those individuals trade places and see how important it becomes in their head.
Yeah.
But if you look at it like it's God's money, it was never ours to begin with.
Right.
It makes it easier.
That's what people need to understand. And it's not your money; it's God's money.
Right.
And it's like, we're in our message tonight. We're in Ephesians 5, and I'm going where I think we left off at 22. But anyways, it's not your marriage; it's God's marriage, because God's in the middle of it.
Supposed to be.
Supposed to be, and that's where a lot of marriages mess up. And I'm not going to say we're perfect. In my marriage, and rephrase it, in our marriage, in the beginning, it was total chaos.
Right.
I mean, a lot of things were going wrong. It was crazy. And now that we have God in our life, I mean, He's always been in our life. He was behind us though, but He's always in our life. And He blessed us in ways we didn't know. We didn't recognize it.
Right.
We would go to church every now and then.
Right.
And then we started going to church and yada, yada, yada. And now that it's just crazy, it is what it is. God's in our life.
Well, the simple truth, the missus has made a comment, and, I don't think that she was wrong. Are you able to read them?
Yes.
Okay. But, we have this habit about prioritizing all the wrong things, and it's not that they're not important. But you will see relationships fall apart when one person puts their self over the other. When when your priorities are out of alignment, even if they're important.
Yeah.
But you still have to have a list of priorities. And if God doesn't take the top 5, you're going to have problems in your marriage. Well, let me rephrase. If you have any belief in God whatsoever, if He's not number 1, you're going to have problems in your marriage. I don't know how non-believers live with that. That's out of my expertise. So I'm not even going to speculate. But there is an order, a hierarchy, so to speak, of, as a believer, how things should be ordered. And especially in marriage, a lot of people, and I don't disagree, it's God, husband, wife, kids, so on and so forth. job comes second, mortgage, all these other things that we worry about come later. But how often do we misorder things?
As a human, all the time,
Yeah, I mean, regularly.
daily.
It's, well, I love God, but the
But-
electric bill has to be paid.
But I want that cheeseburger.
Right, And for the record, a cheeseburger is not anti-God. Just so everybody knows this.
Depends on the word, as I said that word wrong, depends on where the cheeseburger is coming from. Where you buying it at? Wendy's, McDonald's. What direction are you going with that?
I'm talking about eating a cheeseburger isn't a sin.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Gluttony is a sin.
Yes.
Eating a cheeseburger is not.
Oh, yeah, don't go to buffet.
Well, you can go to a buffet. Exercise self-control.
Yeah, I don't do that. It gets bad.
He's like, no, I exercise the buffet.
I do. I do.
Oh, no, I get it.
Because
I want my money's worth.
Exactly, because she'll end up eating like half a plate, and I'm like, I'm getting my money's worth.
Yeah. If I'm modestly hungry and it's at least a modestly decent enough buffet, I want to. What was that comedian's name? John Panay. He's done a few acting roles and whatnot, but like I want the owner coming out. It's like, you get out of here. Next time you order from menu.
You be here for an hour. You go home.
Yeah. It's
like Fluffy.
You pull up chair to buffet.
Well, I give you elevator.
But no, like I said, if it's a decent enough buffet, I want to put a hurting on it.
Yes. Now, if it's Chinese, they don't take much.
It really doesn't. And the downside is it doesn't last that long.
No, it don't. No. Now, if you go to like Sterling Stockade, they got some good food on that one. The new one in Paducah, the new I keep forgetting the name of it. Pizza Ranch.
Okay.
It's decent. It's pretty decent. The pizza's good. The chicken's good.
Where's it hiding at?
Behind. You're going past the mall.
Mm-hmm.
Where the Red Lobster and stuff is. Go past that. Michael's.
Okay.
Turn right there. It's right there on that side. Like you're going.
Okay,
you're going to the theater.
It's in the plaza. Back where used to be Pizza Warehouse, and years ago it was Ruby Tuesday. That L-shaped plaza back there at Yaya's
No,
Island.
it's on this side.
Okay.
Like you're going to turn to. Let me think a minute.
Backside of the mall.
Yeah. Yes. Like you're going to turn to go to Walmart. You're going to turn that way.
Okay.
You got Captain D's and Fazoli's.
Okay, it's opposite side of the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
no. Is it there? No. No, what's further down? Am I thinking right? I'm thinking a minute.
Mrs. says it's in the mall on outside of it.
Yeah, right there by I'm thinking a minute. My brain fart. Chuck E. Cheese.
Okay.
Right behind Chuck E. Cheese.
So where Sears used to be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I had to vision it. Yes.
Okay, we'll have to try that out sometime.
It's good. Where two people cost you about $40.
Depending on where you go. I mean, that's the way I eat for two people. I mean, McDonald's cost me $40.
Well, considering last night we went to Mr. B's, we spent three of us, we spent $70.
Yeah, I see that.
And yeah. And then we went to lunch at Wendy's, cost $40.
Weird.
No, that wasn't lunch. That was in between dinner.
Right. What is going on here?
What's it doing?
Well, my screen went black.
Oh, is it charging?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're good. You're still here.
Yeah.
On my side of things.
So, are we hungry?
No, I'm full.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because we've been talking about food.
Well, you brought it up. The cheeseburger.
You brought up the cheeseburger,
Oh,
but I'll take the blame for it because I am kind of hungry.
oh, okay.
So back into Ephesians 5.
Yeah, that's where it started it. Yeah, that's it. That's what started it.
You know, we covered some of this over the last 2 podcasts, and you know, the central message is Paul is telling us to live as children of light. You know, we're not supposed to live as the world lives, and you know, let's be clear. He's not saying don't work a job. He's not saying don't pay your bills. You know, there are, you know, needs must.
Yes.
What he is saying is that your attitude, your thought process, your behavior, basically your very essence needs to be separated from those who are not believers. Not that they are all bad, not that they can't do good things or whatever the case may be, but we are not called to live in conformity of the world. We are called to live to a higher standard. Technically, we're called to live to perfection.
Yeah.
Thank God for Christ, because that's unachievable. But in that, Paul gives us, you know, through the Ephesians, tells us some do's and don'ts. You know, I don't know if we didn't really go into it a whole lot last week, but the previous week, you know, don't be fools. Don't engage in sexual immorality. You know, I mean, well, he's got a whole list right here. It says to be filled with the Holy Spirit. Carefully determine what pleases the Lord. Take no part in worthless deeds of evil and darkness. Instead, expose them. No sexual immorality, impurity, or greed among you. Obscene stories, foolish talk, coarse jokes. So yeah, we're really not supposed to have what we might call locker room talk.
Yeah.
We're no good at that.
That can get out of hand quick.
You know, you can have a regular story go left field fast.
Yeah. That happens at work a lot, unfortunately.
Right.
In the mechanic world.
Oh no. Like I said, I've worked as a technician for many years. I'm in a different trade now and the son of a truck driver. So, you know,
same concept.
Yeah. I mean, the foul language is treated a lot like punctuation and candy sprinkles.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's why they have the words at the bottom of the screen when you're watching TV. Right. So yeah, it's so far I'm start on my notes, and where did we get to? Do you remember? Was it 23, 24?
I want to say that yeah, we went through 24, but to back up, you know, my translation just in between 20 and 24 gives a new headline: Spirit-guided relationships, wives and husbands. Now, I will note, one of the more frustrating things for somebody like me, do you know there's almost absolutely no scriptural reference for before marriage, dating, relationships?
Yeah, it's like you're not allowed to date.
Do you know that why?
No, I never really thought of that.
I hadn't either until I started digging. The concept of dating is only about 150 years old. Max. People didn't date.
So do you go straight to marriage and avoid dating?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. You didn't date. You didn't do options. Two people kind of picked each other. I'm sure there was courtship, so to speak. And unless something went completely haywire, and of course you have, you know, for a long time, arranged marriages were a thing.
Right. I
But,
remember that. Yeah, I remember
you know,
that.
as that was falling off, you had official courtship.
Yeah.
But the idea of, well, I'm going to date this one for a month, and well, they bite their nails and I can't stand that, and then I'm going to go date. That was not a thing until, historically speaking, recent. So in my opinion, now there are some principles, like we talked about before. What is the word I'm looking for? What is fornication? Well, that's sex before marriage, so obviously we're not supposed to do that. But there, you'd really have to do a deep dive on biblical living to try to pick out, hey, this is honestly what the Bible says about, shall we say, dating. And you're not going to get a direct reference because that wasn't a thing 2,000 years ago.
The more I think about it, I never did see anything about dating in the Bible. I never thought of that.
No, there's really not.
Interesting. It's always been my marriage.
Which
makes sense.
Yes. But jumping into that, I'm going to back up to verse 21. And further submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. For wives, this means submit to your husbands as to the Lord. For a husband, it is the head of it. For a husband is the head of his wife, as Christ is the head of the church. He is the Savior of his body, the church. As the church submits, as the church submits to Christ, so you wives should submit to your husbands in everything. Now, I'm not going to stop there because that's usually where everybody's backside draws up. How
dare you?
Well, I mean, the simple truth is, let's say if 25% of the county was listening to this right now, we would have heard a collective clap of thunder outside from everybody's butt cheeks slapping together.
Yeah, like I just said, how dare you?
Yeah, it is what it is. But going to verse 25, for husbands, this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church. You see, there's more to the story. Isn't it weird how the Bible does that?
Now here comes the good part as you get to the next part of it.
He gave up his life for her to make her holy and clean, washed by the cleansing of God's word. He did this to present her to himself as a glorious church without a spot or wrinkle or any other blemish. Instead, she will be holy and without fault. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as they love their own bodies. For a man who loves his wife actually shows love for himself. No one hates his own body, but feeds and cares for it, just as Christ cares for the church. And we are members of the body. So there I'm going to stop because there is a little bit more, but, I have just sprinkled enough sulfur and brimstone to set the county on fire.
So as I'm reading this today, dealing with soon to be 3-year-old, and it makes me think I love my wife, and she knows it. And it says, of course, I have a different translation. It says, husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know what else to say to that.
The biblical standard is when we are looking at love. Now it's going to take on different characteristics between where you are.
Right.
If you are the husband, it's going to look different than if you are the wife. No less important, it's just going to manifest differently. But if we are being called to love in a marriage as Christ loved the church, it is sacrificial love.
Yes.
Christ quite literally died for the church, for the remission of our sins. period. I remember watching a reel, them people that just go out and start interviewing people at random there on the sidewalk. And this is one of the things that gets me is that looking at relationships, almost nobody questions if the man should sacrifice himself.
That's a given.
That's a given.
It's almost like, no, duh.
I'm not disagreeing.
And to be honest with you, I didn't know about that until we started doing this.
But what's the other side of it?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That's the part that's always left out. I'm not arguing against what everybody believes, but there is more to the biblical aspect of the relationship than the husband is supposed to sacrifice himself for the wife, and the wife is supposed to allow her husband to be sacrificed for her.
Right.
There's more to the story than that. And what I want to note, you see, Paul is writing this,
Yeah.
and one of the bigger misconceptions that we have, that I've noticed between dating, between relationships, between marriages, the battle of the sexes, we don't typically, as far as men and women go, we don't typically look at things in the same manner, in the same aspect. And I'm not saying one is right or wrong. I'm saying different. So what I think is important to note here, look at what Paul says. Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. Husband, love your wives. There's a different translation where it says, wives, respect your husband. Men and women are going, like the way we see this and the way we respond. I don't know of a good way to word it, other than very generically. How a man makes a woman feel loved is not always going to look the same way in reverse. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But there is such a stigma in modern culture about everybody doing things, the same way or whatever the case may be, that we've seen this in the news and in culture and everything. There are so many people, and don't get me wrong, this ain't a woman hating thing, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say a lot of the men are not men, or not how I would define them as men. How's that? But there are so many women out there trying to prove that they can do what a man can do, that they're completely forgetting what a woman can do.
Right.
And when I look at the Bible, when I go back into Genesis, into the creation story, when I read through how, are both important? Yes. But we play different roles. We have a different job to do. You currently work as a technician. That's your job while you're at work. Is it your job to answer the phone?
No.
Is it your job to, there's probably is some warranty paperwork you have to do, but is it your job to deal with vendors?
No.
But answering the phone and dealing with vendors is equally important to the establishment staying in business. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So you have a job, somebody else has a different job, but you're both important.
Yeah.
Why can't we get that through our dang heads when it comes to relationships?
Because we're men.
It's not just the men.
Right. That because we're human.
Right. We worry so much about what the other one's doing that we don't even look to our own, and You see, I'm reading the comments. I'm actually paying attention this time. There is a way to have these where they show up on screen.
Yeah.
You know, do you think that might be beneficial?
Maybe we can make them pop. I mean, I could put them where we stay on the screen.
Well, and the reason I bring that up is,
I'm not sure how it looks up there.
well, it's covering my head up,
Yeah.
which, I look better this way. Where was I?
No, I don't know how it looks on YouTube. I'll take a look.
Right.
I'm kind of curious.
But the aspect is we both have a role to play.
Right.
And when you get down to it, if you are more worried about who's going to be the boss and this and that, then you're losing sight of the focus. We all have a job. We all, now there is the line in there about, for the head of his wife as Christ is the head of the church. I have not done a deep dive on that recently. I wanted to. I've been sidetracked this week. I've heard a lot of people speak on this manner, and that is where that hierarchy comes from. God, husband, wife, children. Another way to look at it, and that's if you define these things. But another way to look at it is God, your relationship, your marriage, because depending on context, the husband and the wife are two separate people with two separate roles, but they are half of a whole.
Right.
If we look at it as though we are two completely separate entities, so to speak, then where's the covenant? Is that making sense?
Yes.
There's a line in the Bible that says you join and become one flesh.
Right.
You are now one person. You're not two joined at the hip, and I think that mentality has been lost in more recent years. I know you got notes on this. Well,
yes, I have.
Do you want to chime in, or do you want me
Yeah.
to keep going?
I have. Let's see here. The first part says this is commenting on verses 28 through 30, and my notes are kind of broad all the way through it. It says, "Love as your own body." So Paul argues that since the husband and wife are one flesh, loving one's wife is literally an act of self-love.
Yeah.
To neglect or mistreat a spouse is in spiritual and organic sense to harm oneself.
Yeah, it is scripturally counterproductive.
Yeah.
The
next one I like the most is nourish and cherish.
Right.
And that's where that whole where did it come in at? I'm trying to remember where it talks about he who
washes
loves,
her clean.
Yeah, he who loves his wife, he who loves his wife loves himself.
Right.
It says nourish to provide what is needed for growth and health. Cherish to protect what with tender care, literally to warm or foster. Now, this in the context of this is not saying just to one person; it's to both, to each other.
Right.
God didn't say, "Hey, I had to just take care of my wife." We take care of each other.
Well, and that's the thing that a lot of times gets left out is when we're reading this, there are some lines that are direct for the wife. There are some lines that are direct for the husband. But there are others like, hey, I'm talking to both of you.
Yeah, like listen to me, or this is for both of you, not just for that one person. And in hello, husband, it's you too.
Right.
Don't make me smack you.
Well, and that's the thing is where there is such a stigma around the, it's not even the submission aspect as much as it is that the Bible lists the husband as the head. All right. But if you go back to the submit aspect, he tells us both to submit. It's going to look different.
It's as crazy as people hear the word submit and they freak out.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big word.
It's a big word. Oh, everybody's oppressed, and, all the hyperbole that, and don't get me wrong. I fully understand that historically speaking, women didn't have the right to vote. Women, depending on where you are and circumstances, may or may not have been able to own or hold property.
Right.
There is a different aspect of this, though. They also couldn't incur debt.
No.
So there was a point in time, let's say here in America, no, a woman could not go get a loan from the bank, nor could she have a credit card in her name. But she could go down to the supermarket, butcher shop, whatever the case may be, and charge off what she needed. And her husband was liable for it.
Yep.
What's the difference?
Exactly.
Because
I knew the new husband was taking care of it then.
Well, and that's the thing, is when you look at it in that aspect, a lot of people will only focus on the part of it that makes them feel oppressed. It's like, well, I could have gone and just got it myself, and you would have been held liable for, and look at our national, not our national debt, that's terrible too, but look at the amount of people that are in debt, let's say either through banks, lending companies, or we'll have to set this. I think it's trying to go into like a sleep mode.
It might be saving power save or
Right.
something.
But either way, people will get so hung up on that aspect, the part that offends them, that they don't look at the other side of it. So let's look at how many people are actually in debt through credit cards, banks, lending companies, whatever the case may be. I'm not entirely sure that everybody incurring debt is a good thing.
That's what they want us to do, though.
Yeah.
The American way.
Yeah, and you see, I spent a lot of time in this. What I'm fixing to say is no knock against my parents, but growing up, I was fortunate enough to have all four grandparents. Until after I got out of school, like the first one passed, I was in my late 30s. Like I've been fortunate. You know what I mean? And one of my grandmothers is still with us. Now she's ready to go. She's been ready for like 8 or 10 years. But God's not listening. How's that?
Yeah.
But I have been fortunate enough to grow up and spend a lot of times with an elder generation. I still had a great grandmother. Oh, wow. I was out of high school, and I still had a great grandmother. So I've heard a lot of stories and this and that from elder generations. The way a lot of folks looked at it is that if you have to go borrow money to buy something, you can't afford it. Because if you could afford it, you wouldn't have to borrow money.
Right.
But our mindset is different. It's, I can afford $142 a month. I can't afford to spend out $6,000. Well, then wait, save up $142 a month until you have $6,000, and now you're not paying interest. That's how the elder generations looked at it. They didn't go sign off on a loan every chance they got. And a lot of them didn't use credit cards to a full degree. They got them because they understood that the world was changing. They got them to keep their credit built. They didn't get them because they had to use them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, our times have definitely changed where the American dream is consumed in interest. And it's crazy. I'm not about to go like full complete ignorance and blame the government or blame the banks or the infamous they that, we did it. I mean, let's just be honest. That bank didn't make you sign off on a loan.
No.
Nobody forced a credit card into your hand. We did it.
The mailer did it.
Huh?
The mailer did it.
Well, I can remember in my early, I don't even know if we was 20 yet. A buddy that we all went to school with, me and him moved out of state together. We both had relatives within 30 minutes of each other in another state. So out of high school, we moved to another state, and he was wanting to build his credit. So yeah, I mean, back then, like on AOL dial-up, you get 35 credit card offers a day in your email. So he signed up for a bunch of them. They all shut him down for the same reason. You applied for too many credit cards. And I'm like, that might be them telling you, But yeah, instead of filing for one or two, his thought was, well, I'll just fill them all out and see which one gives me one.
Good idea.
But all that pinged his credit report at the same time. And they're like, no, you sent out too many. You scare us.
Yeah.
And, of course he did end up getting one and so on and so forth. But, nobody makes us live in debt or go into credit and whatnot. We do it ourselves. Sometimes, I'm going to say most of the time we think we need to. We don't see another choice. Sometimes that might be correct, but most of the time we do it voluntarily. I don't know why we're on that. Other than times change.
Yeah.
Squirrel, here we go.
Wabsky wabbit.
Oh yeah, talking about the difference in the sexes and incurring debt and all that.
Yeah.
There absolutely. There was a time when women couldn't have a credit card.
Yeah.
They also didn't have any debt.
No.
So which is more important?
Tomato.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. And all the thoughts, I watch entirely too much stuff. So, I can easily get sidetracked, on, I've been hearing a lot of stuff that a lot of the women back in that time period did not want women's suffrage.
Yeah.
I've been hearing a lot about that the narrative of, women were on board. No, a very small percentage of women were on board. But the infamous they were on board.
Them.
Well, the ones that, we didn't have a lot of taxes and a Federal Reserve before a certain point. You understand what our Social Security number is, don't you? I mean, do you know what it actually is?
It's identification number.
Okay, but for what purpose?
I don't know.
We are collateral for the government's debt.
Huh.
They keep borrowing money because we have to pay taxes to pay it back.
Imagine that.
So like I said, a lot of things change, but that's also where a lot of suffrage come from. Before a lot of these, what people would call progress, the ladies took care of their household. They took care of their children. They educated their children. And yes, during wartime, yes, a lot of them did go and get jobs and so forth. I'm not disputing any of that. But what has happened is they have doubled the amount of collateral that they can borrow against. Weird, huh?
Mm.
And if like there's all kinds of graphs out there where you can see that the national debt and the timeline kind of ran pretty straight until a certain point in history, and then national debt skyrocketed.
I'm always seeing something about that on the.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's, I think the last time our debt was zero was who was it? Like Andrew Jackson or Alexander Hamilton. We haven't been out of debt as a nation since, I don't know, the Civil War.
Yeah.
And it's only gotten worse.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
But back on subject.
So yeah, the next one on my notes, the connection to Christ. That's
Yeah, I keep trying to get Ken to stay on topic and not get us sidelined on other things.
I feel like that's the most important thing when it comes to a marriage.
Being Christ centered.
The connection.
Oh, absolutely.
Ding. I come just in time.
Yep.
It says, just as we naturally care for our physical bodies, Christ cares for his body. The believers, we are described as members of his body, emphasizing a living, vital connection. So it's God or husband, God, wife. It's the Holy Spirit, the whole Trinity. Well, that reminds me, there was a video that she sent me.
Right.
Uh-oh, we have a message.
Yep.
I just saw that.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to show it. Ta-da! Okay.
There's a lot of truth to the statement.
Yeah.
While I can't speak for women,
Right.
There does seem to be a lot of truth around the idea of, honestly, I mean, from what I've seen in a lot of modernity, is whichever situation works to their advantage at the time.
Right.
There are a lot that want to be independent when they want to be independent. But if that's not working to their advantage, then they're just a woman. And like I've seen multiple people play this off back and forth. And a lot of times the answer might change depending on how you ask the questions when the story's being told.
Right.
And if that's the case, you can honestly get people to paint themselves as the victim, the villain, and the hero all at the same time.
We can have 10, 15 people, 10, 15 different stories.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But, there is a stigma around the idea of submission. And, yeah, part of it probably is the whole independence aspect and this and that. And what bothers me, and, I'm not trying to hate on ladies here at the moment, is a statement I made earlier. Men and women see things differently. We will look at the same thing and draw different conclusions because our minds and our thought processes simply work differently. And I have told ladies before that describing yourself as a strong, independent woman has become a red flag to men. And it's not that we're not agreeing with you. That's how you see yourself, and that's fine. That's not our argument. Our argument is that what we think of when we think of strength and independence is not what we see playing out.
Right.
Because we don't view strength in pain in the ass units. I mean, just to put it bluntly, we don't view independence as stubbornness. Now, there are times, now, don't get me wrong, being stubborn for the right reasons is a virtue.
Right.
Being stubborn for the sake of being stubborn looks more like spoilt brat behavior, and that's how we view it, So there's a lot of these things that are being sold as this is a good thing, but what we see does not match what we would picture as a good thing, if that makes sense. I can do this on that
Okay.
topic for a long time. So, but I do think that there's a lot of stigma around that because, I mean, men and women we don't look at things the same way. We don't view them in the same aspect. And talking about that before, the way a husband might love his wife, her love towards him is not going to look like a mirror image of that.
Right.
Now he might show love by protecting her. He might show love by provision in the household. He might show love by taking out the garbage before it's, overflowing and has to be asked. There's a million ways that he might show his love, and she's going to show her love the same way too. But not many men are going to wake up and it's like, well, she took the garbage out. She really loves me. We see that as a chore. The garbage needed taken out. That's not a declaration of love. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we view that in different aspects. And I honestly think that's where a lot of the confusion comes in, because one individual wants to determine not only how this person loves me, but I also get to determine how I love them. And at some point you have to stop, like, well, don't they get an opinion in this at all?
Well, then if they don't let them, they're going to give it to you anyways.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Especially my wife.
I'm not saying a word. I'm not saying a word. You dig your own grave.
She going to be her whether you want her to or not.
Well, and that's the thing.
And
is,
I'm glad. I'm glad.
She should be her.
Yep.
And that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize about the scripture is, if you don't wrap your whole identity around your sin, you can grow in Christ and remain the same person.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't keep doing the things you used to do. Now if your whole identity is wrapped in the things you used to do, you're going to have to become a new creation, which the Bible tells us to anyways. So that'll be a fun one to wrap your head around.
That's fine. She brought up Genesis. That's the next.
Yeah.
We're going to 31 next. Kind of ties into Ephesians.
No, it directly does.
Yeah.
There's other scriptures that do also. There's more scriptures about, how the husband should conduct himself, how the wife should conduct herself, men in general, women in general, so on and so forth, children, the elderly. But honestly, I'm trying to stay focused on simply this right here. But no, there are other, this is a common theme from cover to cover.
Yes.
It's not a misogynist thing. It's not women were ignorant back then, so once we got a degree, it doesn't apply anymore. Tell me where that footnote's at.
Right. Show me.
I mean, it's really quite simple. God set a design for whatever reason that he did.
Yep.
It's not ours to question. It's ours to obey and to try to
God
understand.
did it because he knew we're going to be idiots.
Well, I used to read a book series, and one thing that the character would say pretty regular about men and women is we deserve something better than each other.
Right.
You know, and he's not. I don't believe that the character is always wrong in that. But the simple truth is God set up this order for whatever his reasons were. He didn't ask our permission. He didn't ask if it was going to be all right. He said, "This is how I want it." You know, and when you get down to it, love should always be, even if we're talking about love to a stranger, love to distant, it's always supposed to be sacrificial love. You should be looking to gain nothing from it.
Right.
Now within a marriage, it is a little bit different, because you are now one body. To love your spouse is equated to loving yourself. It is sacrificial. Yes. Christ sacrificed himself for the church. Yes. But the church is referred to as his bride, so we still belong to Christ regardless. You know what I'm saying? It all keeps coming full circle around. Is yes, it does make this statement, wives submit, but there's more. When wives do their best to live in a biblical manner, and husbands do their best to live in a biblical manner, it's circular. It always keeps coming back because you're serving each other as you serve Christ. Is that making more sense?
Yeah. No. Don't
What are you doing?
I'm typing in something that popped in my head.
Do you want me to spit out random letters to see if you remember or not? What you got?
Let's see what it comes up with. Try to remember, wasn't there a phrase? Well, then just freaking close yourself out then. God so loved the church. Wasn't there something of that nature in the Bible?
Well, John 3:16 is for God so loved the world.
Okay.
But yeah, there are direct references to the church. I don't know exactly where you're going with that, so I don't know which one to try to dig out.
It done. Anyway, so the next 30. For my notes again, here we
31.
go. 31. Yeah, 31. It says, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and he be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh, which comes back to Genesis 2:24.
Yeah.
Let's find it real quick. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and united to his wife and then become one flesh.
I see where I was getting that from now.
Yeah.
Verse 32, this is a great mystery, but it is an illustration of the way Christ and the church are one. 33, this is what I was trying to think of earlier. So again, I say, each man must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. You see, when he first started that out, he's, for husbands, this means love your wife. Wives, submit to your husbands. At the bottom of it, each man must love his wife. He has repeated that. And the wife must respect her husband.
How many times is that said in this?
Well, the downside to a lot of folks on this, I don't know that it is possible to biblically respect your husband if there is no submission. Okay. Now, one thing that is common, and I'm not going to say that bad stuff doesn't happen both ways. A lot of men are pain in the butts too. I'm just saying. I mean,
I'm not a pain in the butt at all.
You better take your wife's keyboard away before she types a message. But if one member, like if you was telling me that the missus was a big pain in the butt and you don't know why she acts so stupid, Or if she was telling me the same thing about you, like, I don't know why he acts this way. Neither one of you are respecting the other in that,
Right.
And there's a lot of that goes on. If you are bad mouthing your spouse to your friends, to your, my favorite one is, to the mother. If you're doing those things, you're not respecting your spouse.
Right.
And if somebody else is disrespecting your spouse and you allow it to take place, you're still not respecting them. You have to show respect by not allowing disrespect from yourself and from others. Now you need to understand what that really is. If I made the comment that your wife's hair is a certain color, that's not me disrespecting her.
No.
If I said something that I ought not say, that's a completely different story. You can't let that stand. It doesn't mean that I have to be shot. It simply means you have to address that. Like you don't let disrespect stand. And there is a lot of that in our modern world. Like there is a lot of stigma between, the outer friend circle and the in-laws, to be honest with you. And in modern times, I blame us again because we've gotten away from the original design. When man and woman joined, they are a new creation. They are a new member, and they have started their own family. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When, I hate to think of it this way because it's not the way we are taught growing up. But when you and the missus got married, you didn't bring her into your family through your parents, and she didn't bring you into hers with her parents. Y'all left your parents and started your own family.
Right.
And at some point, your kids will do the same, But in modern times, we're looking at the whole thing backwards, where the matriarch or the patriarch is trying to call the shots 3 and 4 generations down the line. Like I get trying to hold a certain amount of family togetherness. I get that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't agree with trying to dictate it because your kids started their own family. They didn't bring people into yours. They started their own, and that's biblical.
Yes.
I will also stop where I'm at right there. There is such a stigma about, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time arguing about things I didn't say. There is such a stigma in relationships and, marriages, whatnot. My kids are my world, and I'm not saying that kids are not important. I'm not saying that they don't have needs, but when two people get married and they bring a kid into this world, you can make the argument that the kid did not ask to be there. You can make that argument, but your covenant is with your spouse, and that's between you, your spouse, and God. You don't have a covenant with your child. The whole design is that they're going to grow up and leave you. And if you focus 110% of your time, your efforts, everything into your children, which I'm not saying that they don't need some of that attention and whatnot,
Right.
but your spouse does also. And so many people nowadays, they spend so much time, effort, energy, and whatnot into their kids that by the time the kids leave, they're married to a complete and total stranger that has been neglected for 25 years. And we wonder why the divorce rate is so high.
I feel like I've heard this before.
You probably have, because I mean, the pastor that we talk about and share a lot of
Oh,
his videos.
yeah, that's
He's
right.
brought that up.
Yeah, I remember now.
There are a lot of people that have spoken on this, and I want to be very clear. I'm not saying to neglect your kids. I'm not saying that they're not going to have needs, and at some point that is going to have to be a priority. I'm not saying any of that. What I am saying is you have a covenant with your spouse. You don't have a covenant with your children. When your children leave, what are you going to do then? Because now you're stuck with your spouse that you've ignored. So what are you going to do? You know, and I, in me saying this, I'm not pointing a finger at men or women. I'm pointing a finger at both of you.
Yeah.
You know, because you know the typical thing is, I mean, let's just say it, the women are focused on the children, but the man will spend all his time at work. You know, and the downside is that regardless of which one starts first, it becomes a snowball effect, because the more attention that goes towards the kids, the more time he's going to spend at work because he's not getting any attention. Men go where they feel important. You know,
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
You know, men don't normally go into a space where they feel ignored. We don't like it. It doesn't have to be all about us, but we do not like being in places where we're ignored, you know. So 15, 20, 25 years of that, and we wonder why marriages struggle.
That's why Toby Keith wrote that song.
He wants to talk about me.
Yeah.
Well, and there is a certain aspect about that. A lot of people prioritize themselves.
Yeah.
You know, that's not completely tied in with where we're at on this today. But yeah, we could actually build a whole lesson around that song.
Yeah, we can.
I mean, there's so much of our society that is self-serving. It's about what we want, when we want it, how we want it, the manner by which we get it. It's like we forget there's 8 billion other people on the planet.
Oh yeah. There they are. So to conclude the last part of the verse here, it says marriage is a type of shadow. It exists to point the world toward the ultimate relationship, the Creator's sacrificial covenantal life for his people. When a marriage functions correctly, it acts as a living advertisement for the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the ultimate goal, the ultimate sacrifice, I guess you'd say. Is your marriage is with God in the center of it, doing what God says and pleasing one another, being there for one another. I guess I got to wash her feet later, so to speak.
Now, if she has to wash yours, is that submission or is that punishment? Because I've seen my feet before, and I don't wish that.
Well,
on
if it's
anybody.
after a day of work, it's punishment.
You know, I'm just saying. You know, feet tend to look and smell like feet.
No, I'll rub hers. She'll rub mine after I had a shower.
Right.
But if it's after work and yeah, no,
I understand that. Yeah,
that's a sin. Only for her to comment.
the thing about it is, you know, like this whole aspect, we've brought up submission, we've brought up sacrifice and all that. What exactly are we submitting and sacrificing?
I don't know. Sacrifice is such a harsh word, I guess.
Well, there's different ways to sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, sacrifice does not necessarily mean bloodshed on the altar every single time it's used.
Yeah.
But sacrifice does mean that you're giving something that you want, so to speak.
Yeah.
You're letting go of something that's important. When we look at this scripturally, when it's talking about sacrifice, when it's talking about submission and whatnot, what are we actually submitting? our own will.
Yeah.
You know, what are we sacrificing? Our own wants, you know.
I see. Yeah.
Why?
Okay.
Because the relationship has got to be greater than the individual. And when, you know, like if we look at the, I agree with the missus on this one. You know, she will not be touching those things.
I figured she'd say that till I took a shower.
I can't fault her for that.
No,
you
I don't
know.
either.
Like, I don't even like touching my feet if I haven't washed them. But when the husband and wife are both submitting, sacrificing, when they are doing it in the will of the Lord, when you get to the end of it, what have you really sacrificed? Because you gained through doing so. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But we get so hung up on the idea of submission that we think we're going to lose something that is important. You know, and I go back to what Jesus said there in the Garden of when he was praying in the garden.
Yeah, like Thea, whatever.
Yes, he did ask God, if there be any other way, let this cup pass from me. Christ didn't want to go through with it no more than me or you would have wanted to go through it. I don't think me or you would be that compliant. You know, I think we would have gone kicking and screaming.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know. But Christ went. Why? Because at the end of the day, he truly meant it, not my will, but your will be done. When we look at these things in Scripture, it's not my will. You know, like I didn't write what Paul wrote.
No.
If you go back to Genesis, where it talks about, you know, for this reason, man and woman will combine and be one. They'll leave their, you know, when it talks about all of that, when it brings up what the missus brought up in Genesis 3, let's see, what is it, 3:16 or 18?
3:16.
Then he said to the woman, I will sharpen the pain of your pregnancy, and in pain you will give birth. And you will desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you. See, that is part of the, you know, a lot of this goes back to the apple, you know, or eating of the fruit, or however a person wants to describe it. Like I said, I didn't make this up. I didn't set the rules. Nobody asked my opinion as how the order should be. God does what God does for God's reasons, and he doesn't most of the time ask our permission or even our opinion on it. If you don't think that is true, read Job. But the fact of the matter is that it is designed around a sacrificial type of love. And if you aren't sure what love is, was it 1 Corinthians 13? Love is patient, love is kind. I think that starts at verse 4. That sound right?
Looking. Yeah, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. Yeah.
Okay. So when you're looking at, you know, like we've discussed before, a lot of people, you know, atheists or regardless of where their background is, while trying to push an agenda or an idea, is like, well, doesn't God say to love others? He does. He really does. But you have to use God's definition of love. You don't get to use the world's definition of love and pencil God in behind it as though it was a new command. If you want to love people biblically, then you have to use God's definition of love. You know?
Yeah.
And we don't like that either, because
No.
we want to make up our own. Weird, huh?
Yeah.
What you got?
I'm just smiling every time I read that. But
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't blame her. Like I said, I don't like wash. Like I don't like touching my own feet if they haven't been
right.
washed. I mean, be honest, I don't like touching. I'm not a foot person.
I don't know what I am. Besides,
I mean, I've given like foot rubs and stuff like that, but I don't like people putting their feet on me. Like if I'm sitting there on the couch, let's say me and somebody else is watching a movie or whatever. I don't care if they prop their feet up on my leg or whatever the case may be, but if they start rubbing their dang feet on me, I'm going to move their legs off into the floor. I don't care for it,
I will tell you one thing my wife loves is foot on the carpet.
No, I get that. I do get that. If it's good plush carpet, if it's like that indoor outdoor carpet, what's the point?
I just love doing that. It just really aggravates her.
Right.
No, she'll stab me for that. Just like the rubbing my dirty feet.
Right. Well, everybody has their limits.
Yeah. Waiting for the comment on that. There, see.
So she doesn't like her bare feet on the carpet?
No. If there's carpet in the house anywhere and you're rubbing your feet in the carpet, just dragging your feet, it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Duly noted.
Yeah. It's yeah. Like the dog, if he hasn't had his nails clipped in a while.
Now that part I get, but if it's just a foot,
it goes through my head.
Right.
Oh, I'm like, go lay down. Well, it looks like it's a wrap tonight. We finished Ephesians 5. I think we might go ahead and finish going through 6, command the children.
Might as well.
And let them know what they're doing wrong. And then after that, we'll see what God puts us.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, who knows? God might give us something different 20 minutes from now.
Who knows? He might have to do something about the election. Who knows? Be some bloodshed. But we don't get what they call that political. Yeah, that word.
Well, there are like what bothers me. All right, the interpretation of words and definitions. I'm not even saying that very well. Words meanings change, but over time, the way they're interpreted changes also. And people want to put you in a neat little box. You're either on this side or you are on that side. And there's no, like as time goes on, we simply get more polarized. And it's like nobody can think for themselves anymore. It's whoever has the most clickbait, the most outrage. I actually got there's one female representative I like. What is her name? Like she's real sharp on the Constitution. Harriet Sageman or something like that. She's smart, but she made a comment about, like spare me your faux outrage, that FAUX. And I'm like, faux. What is faux? A fake word for fake. Like that's how bad our English language has come. Like we're making up fake words to describe fake.
That's really great.
But either way, things have gotten so polarized and they keep getting worse. And everybody always says it's the other side's fault. And don't get me wrong, there are instances where this side probably shouldn't have said or done that. And there's instances where this side shouldn't have said or done that. But what kills me is, like from a historical standpoint, the folks that would call themselves liberals or progressives today, you see, our founding fathers were considered liberals of their time, classical liberals. But when you look at what they said, the documents they wrote, and then the letters they wrote about those documents, their beliefs then are not in line what you would say a liberals is today. Okay, because things have changed. Progressives have their idea, lefties have their ideas, conservatives, the MAGA movement and all that, and even people who would call themselves moderate. Almost nobody is technically moderate anymore, because the center line keeps moving. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But the part that gets me is where almost nobody seems to be able to think for themselves. A lot of folks put me in this box. I'm not in that box. In certain things, I agree with these folks. In other things, I agree with this other party over here. And there are some instances, and I'll go ahead and throw it out there. I'm doing a Bible podcast. I'm labeled on the right. And in modern politics, yeah, why not? When I view the left versus the right aspects of a lot of things, yeah, I'll claim being on the right. But am I conservative? Well, not by the definition of the word, because to conserve means to maintain the status quo. I don't like the status quo. I want to go back to the original founding, not, but there's things I want to keep,
Right.
like I'm all right with a lot of the aspects of what you would call woman's liberation. I'm all right with no slavery. I'm fine with equal treatment. Like, a lot of these things don't bother me a bit, but I want to return to the principles. I don't like the current status quo. I think both parties suck. I mean, let's just be honest with you. But does that make me a Republican? No, it really doesn't. Because there's a lot of the things that they do. Well, I might agree with what they're saying, but I disagree in the manner by which they do it. And that's where I'm at with a lot of the left. I can look at, topics that the left bring up. Yeah, I will agree. Healthcare costs are out of control. I don't disagree with that. I fully disagree on the solution.
It's ridiculous.
There's other instances where I will agree that X, Y, or Z might be a problem. We might even agree on what the solution is, but we will disagree on the road by which to get there. Like if I claim to be anything, it's, I probably am. I'm definitely not what you would call a leftist. And I'm not trying to hate on anybody. I'm simply saying that where my views lie, depending on what we're talking about at the time, because in certain things, I'm actually very libertarian, like, I don't care what you do if you're not bothering me.
Right. Leave me alone.
But there are other aspects where, because people will ask, well, why does it bother you if a woman goes and does this? I can't think of any law that we have where we are allowed to inflict harm on another living being that hasn't asked for it. So I'm not going to ignore the ones that do. Like I said, I don't know. Things are progressively getting worse, and I regularly make the comment that a lot of things that people call progress aren't progress. When you look at the results, it's anything but progress. Unless the goal is, system failure, control alt delete, total reset. Depending on what the goal is, but either way, a lot of things that, look at the OnlyFans culture. Like, I'm not. To me, I think it's the arguments that you hear around it are the stupidest on the planet. All right. The ladies that participate in it, they do whatever it is that they do for whatever reasons that they do it. Fine. Other ladies might secretly, well, I don't really approve, but you go, girl. Fine. But they don't want their men or any man looking at that content.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. A lot of the women who make that same comment cannot stand the men that are looking at that content. Are you seeing a pattern here?
Yep.
So here's the stupid thing. The very people that are supporting that aspect are getting told not to.
Yep.
And here's my thoughts on it. If you're going to get looked down on for looking at that content, fine. Let people put their money where their mouth is. Stop looking at the content. And when you stop paying for it, the girls making the content are going to have to go out and get a job.
Yep.
But like I said, there's so much hypocrisy in our world. It's like you fully support an industry in principle, but you hate the people who actually support the industry.
Like what they call that, catch-22.
I mean, I guess if it wasn't for double standards, there wouldn't be any at all.
No.
But what gets me about it is, in a lot of ways, that culture can be referred to as prostitution.
Yep.
Okay, fine. Now, that has been, for the most part, outlawed in this country for, I don't remember when it was outlawed, but for a long time. There are different aspects in history where it was either normal practice or it was frowned upon. But if we see this culture as being progress and women's liberation, if they resort back to behavior that was going on 2,000 years ago, I don't call that progress. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you're not progressing past this point. So, like I said, there's a lot of it I simply don't understand. It makes no sense to me. And as far as, like that industry or a lot of this other stuff, I don't want to understand it. It makes no sense. I don't think anybody can explain it where it's going to make sense. Because like I said, a lot of it, by explaining this point, you cancel that point.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Blah.
Pretty much.
Just don't watch it.
Well, honestly,
It's a sin.
that's
It's a sin.
It is.
I never have watched it, never had want to. And I did watch the other stuff, unfortunately, back in the day.
Well, it's all the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's a different platform.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Biblically, stay away from lust traps, pornography, adultery, fornication, all the things that the Bible says don't do. Just don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't
do it. Nope, don't do it. But we'll call tonight, and we'll see you all next week. We'll start on Ephesians 6. It talks about children obeying your parents and doing what you're supposed to do. Just to give an idea and make sure I'm talking it right. Ephesians 6. Yep, children obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. That's the first one.
Yeah.
And y'all continue praying for us, and we'll continue praying for you. Y'all have a good night, and God